everyone, how you doing today? I thought I'd show you another update on this Combat CV and then actually do a little work to it, starting the texturing process. So in the last video I asked how would you like it textured, and I didn't get too many responses, but what I got is one person voted for MCRN. I think 3 people either voted for or said the dark gold coloring of like the Icarus would work pretty good on this. And I think 1 person voted for human. So I think in the results, it's going to be textured like this. So that's what I'm going to do here in just a little bit. But I want to show you a quick change I made to the ship. Now, on the last video, too, I was looking at the lower weapon mount positions, and I had 2 objectives. One is I learned that these guns fire down the middle. They're 3 blocks wide, but the only slot you need open is between the 2 actual guns here. And I had these, the guns on the bottom side, the same direct or facing the same way as what they are there. So that would mean that it would have to be like right down the center, which would interfere with the block work that was up on the lower hull of the ship. And second objective, I wanted to get the full 8-pack of heavy weapons on the ship. So managed to do kind of 2 birds and 1 stone there. I ended up rebuilding this lower section. It's actually a little bit bigger than it once was. It sits down another block row, and I had to redo all the landing gear yet again. It's like the 3rd time I ended up redoing that area. But at the end of the day, I managed to get 4 of these heavy launchers in here, and they shoot right down the center here. Or I'm sorry, they shoot across this way in the middle of these guns, and will avoid all the block work on the hull of the ship there. So yeah, that's I originally I did want to max out the amount of heavy weapons that it could actually hold, and I did manage to do that here, so I'm pretty happy about that. Now, one person brought up the comment that these thrusters looked like they would burn the inner hull here, which they kind of would. So I might be tweaking that at some point here too, to see if I can work that out a little bit better, so it doesn't look like it would like scorch the ship itself. It's rough with the reverse thrusters on a build like this, so I don't really have any good locations to put them at all. So anyway, that is pretty much the only change that I made with the ship. I think there's a couple other little block tweaks here and there, but they're not very notable. So other than that, let's start painting this thing. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go steal the palette off from this build here. So we're going to go to configure. Usually just click on the top, hold down the shift key, click on the bottom, which selects all of it. Then I hit copy. Okay. And I zip right over here and configure again. And I usually will reselect everything again. Basically touch on the upper left and then hold down shift, touch on the lower right, and then hit paste. And that brings in the entire color palette. Now, I just got to remember how to paint with this scheme. I only did 1 build with it, and it was at least a month, 2 months ago now. So, anyway, front nose area here. Let's see. Let me just get some. We're using. Let me just see what my base dark color is. I think it's this. Yeah, it is that. Okay. So in the palette itself, there's a lot of shades. There's some of these like kind of brownish, goldish looking colors. There's some browns in here. There's a number of the darker grays, a number of lighter grays, and even lighter grays in the mix. So it kind of uses all of these. A lot of these slight variants in tone, though, are due to certain individual textures. They're like offset colors. Like if you paint flat metal, say this shade, and then you put in a vent texture, it might be slightly brighter than the other piece, so this darkens that up so it matches better, and that's what a lot of these different shades are for, is color offsets in the palette. So it's a interesting palette to work with, that's for sure. it's a little unique there, but anyway, okay. So to start painting this, here, let me turn on symmetry a minute. We're gonna do some mass filling a little bit in this front area, and that's kind of my objective on this video, is to paint this front area at least to get the texturing started. I'll try to tweak it too before I like move on. But right now what I want to do is actually The hull materials on this particular build are using a couple different textures. They're using both of these over here and also this one, but it's not doing the rust metal. And I never actually use this texture for anything because that's like the default combat steel texture, which I don't normally use the default textures for anything on a build. I don't know why exactly. I just feel like I don't do that very much. All right, so let's see. How do I want to? Okay, so well, kind of a black line there. So let's first paint this in a little bit here. I'm gonna just add in some actual textures here a minute. Oh wait, I never did actually turn on symmetry, did I? There we go. And we're gonna mix these up too, but I wanted to make like a little thing that goes around this area, then we'll paint the other stuff a different shade. Okay, so now what I also do too on a lot of these inner walls, like if you like in this circumstance here where there's a fairly dark texture there, and then you got the inner wall, I usually will go a tone or two down on that. Like I have a range here, so say we go with one that's a couple down there, and that gives it like a little bit more of a contrasty shadow look to it. It's hard to notice right now, but certain lights and stuff you can see that, but I usually operate that way. Okay, so now around there, let's figure out, let's see, I think I wanted to go with this. Now let's go with this medium darkness one and this texture here, which is that kind of like, it's not like super rusty, but a little bit rusty metal. And we're just gonna paint here. I'm gonna paint a whole strip that goes all the way back to this area for now, and it's kind of like the first part of it here. I'm also gonna paint in this temporary, get this all set up here, get around there, and it's gonna look kind of bad until it gets tweaked. But there's why this particular paint scheme takes a little bit more to do is there's a lot of tweaking involved after you like spray things in, I guess you could say. Okay, so that's kind of right. Now I also want to try to establish areas with the lighter color as well. Try to figure out where I'm going to break that off on. I don't necessarily want solid row strips going down from the front to the back, but I did kind of want to break it up a little bit here. So what I'm going to do here is we got some angled pieces right here. Let's start going with the brighter color scheme over here just for a little bit, and I'm going to paint some of these like that for now. We'll see how it looks. A lot of this gets tweaked later on too. If you look at it and you don't like some of the paint things on it, kind of change it until it looks good. Okay, so we got a little bit of that in there. Yeah, we'll go with that for now. All right, so the next part here, let's get this inside stuff painted up. So we're going to go darker on some of this, but we'll try to add in some different textures that might look all right with it. Let's a couple of those. How about we put something else in the middle maybe? A little bit buried, but I think it should be all right. And then let's do like, I'm going to do a little bit darker tone on the middle here, but that is actually brighter than the other stuff. We'll just use smooth metal for this for now, just to get some different color variants in here. Something like that. You know, on the sides here, okay, so we painted the top surface with this tone, so we're going to paint the side walls one tone darker just by default. I guess for now, yeah, we'll do more of this here. Sometimes I will remove parts to paint around them. Other times, if like this, especially with CVs, it's a little easier to keep them in place sometimes and try to paint around them a little faster sometimes. Depends. Okay, so the inner area here, I do want to have pretty dark. So I just don't want this really to be very seen. put like some kind of texture on the top and bottom, something like this. You can flow with it, all right. Except for the ends, because I don't like to see these lines cut in half. And how about on the inside here? We'll just kind of do some smooth metal around there. And on the back, actually on the back, let's put like something else there. Paint this part in. And let's put in like maybe some of that on the top and bottom there. This should be dark over here too, so yes, I guess smooth metal or the dark metal here. I think. Let's try it like that. Let's see how that looks in the end. Okay, so we got a little bit of that painted down. Now to find something to put in these corners here, I guess we'll keep this extra dark too. Let's keep that the same. Trying to figure out if anything would look alright in this corner position. Not too many textures that really work very well in these kind of circumstances. So I think I'm just gonna have to like kind of blank it out really. And let's go one tone darker on the side walls on that. Again, might as well get that painted too. Would like to get a little texture contrast in there though. Alright. So these parts, try to see if anything would look alright on them. Yeah, let's just keep those the same tone. Dark on the inside here too. Okay, and then let's go up a couple notches in color, although I'm trying to keep a lot of this kind of darkish. Try to find some kind of texture that could work here. But I don't really, I don't think I want texture lights here. Or do I? I don't know. Maybe. Well, here, let's just put that in there for now. And, oh, that's the weird one there. Let's try like that. It's kind of, that looks alright. Turn like that. And something on the top here. No, it's too much of that. There's a little line there. You can barely see it, but yeah, okay. Better than nothing. Alright, so on the front here, let's go up a couple tones just kind of randomly here. And now I'll put a couple texture. You know what I'm also lacking here is fuel in the ship. So you can't see the texture lights now. Well, now you can. This is kind of a neat texture sometimes. It's got the white line syndrome, but it might be alright if I just use like one of them. The white line syndrome, basically, no matter what color you paint this, even if it was jet black, you're going to see like bright white lines in the texture that you can't do anything about. That's a lot of the textures have the white line syndrome, what I call. Alright, so we kind of started with this a little bit. Now, I don't have any of the brownish gold color in this yet. Trying to figure out exactly where I should do that at. Kind of looking at this area here. Let's try it. Okay, so default brownish gold for that particular texture would be this here. Oh, no, we don't want to start it right there. Let's go up to here. I'm just kind of recoloring those right now. See if that's gonna kind of work out or not. And I'm trying to get a little bit of this in the build, but it's not gonna be too thick. Just some little lines here and there and stuff like that, but not too much of that particular color. Okay, so let's do the tweaking part here. And now I got to turn symmetry off for this. Now what I want to do is replace a lot of the jiggy line textures in here. And you have to do this not in symmetry because yeah, it's each texture is individual basically. All right, so we started off this. I think the tones right now were painted with. did I get this wrong? Yeah, I'm kind of blotting out some of the lining things in here with a slightly different thing, but I think I might have done something a little bit wrong here. It's not quite right. But the whole point is I'm trying to make like a mixture so that it looks like individual panels with lines that make sense, or not that many lines, basically. Some. With no lines at all, it kind of looks like Minecraft, so I try to get like some in there, but you got to kind of pick and choose based on what's there. So, like, I'm blocking out those, that one, this one, that one, etc., kind of going through the whole hall that way. Sometimes I'll leave some of these straight lines, but yeah. Alright, so even on here, oops, wrong tone, that tone. Yeah, you know what? And a little bit this color fluctuation actually I think helps the overall build too. Like some of this is a little mismatched. Kind of learned that before I was trying to be really accurate to a T with it, but then I realized that having that a little bit of color discrepancy actually tends to look a little bit better overall. Looks a little more crude, a little more rustic, I guess you could say. Okay, so over here we're in the lighter textures now. Yeah, I did something wrong. I got to repaint this. These were supposed to be toned down, and I kind of did it backwards. So, and I haven't used one of these textures in a little bit. Get a little, yeah, I see how that blends in a little bit better now. I probably need to do that on this side too. A lot of these are going to be blotted out. Okay, so now let's go up to here and get rid of a lot of that stuff. Let's get the grays in place. Finish that part off. Is that the right tone? And this is why, like, a paint job like this versus the humans that I do, it's more complicated. This is similar to the Scar 2.0 texturing, which is kind of mixed hull material with color offsets, basically. So it does add a little bit more complexity to the paint job. But I generally like it. That's why I did it in the first place. So, okay, so this one here, yeah, let's put in that, and then let's blot out that and that. Now, one last thing I wanted to bring up here too, and this has to do with the color palette itself. Let me just go to a color that I don't believe is being used anywhere on the build. Oh boy, I'm not sure what color that's going to be. How about this one? I don't think I've ever used this color. Actually, what I did when I made these colors, let's just say that, let's reset this to a straight up like white or gray or something like that. Okay, so here's gray, right? That's what normal gray looks like. If you notice all these like different tones, they're not just straight up gray. What I ended up doing with these, like, let's edit this color again here. So we'll just say this is default color palette here. What I actually did is I would up the saturation, pick an underlining color to it. Now in the case of this ship, what I actually did is I went with more of a kind of a yellow color, something around like this, right? And so I'll bring up the hue and the saturation just enough so I can see what color it is. And then what I did is I would bring that saturation not to 0, but just keep it a little bit so it's hard to tell that there's like a color in there. I did something about like that. And then I'll take that color and then we'll edit this again, and then I'll copy that. And let's say we put that in another spot somewhere. I'm going to screw things up. I don't think I'm using that tone. I think it was this one over here. We'll paste it there. And then for the other nearby color or other colors, I would leave the hue the same, I'd leave the saturation the same, but I would adjust the basically the intensity. And say I wanted a darker tone of that, I would bring it down to here, or a lighter tone, I would bring it up to here. but this stays fixed on your saturation. Basically, what that does is you kind of end up with like a form of gray, but it has a underlining tone to it. I did that with this entire palette, except maybe the orange over here, but I think that was too. Basically, when you're looking at this in certain lights, it has kind of an overall little bit of like a yellowish underlining tint to the whole build, and you can do that with a whole bunch of different other underlining tone colors. Say you wanted it to have a little bit of a green glow to it, or red, or magenta, or whatever. It'll work, and it gives it just that, you know, if it was straight up gray, it would look way different than what it does now, but it's hard to notice it when you're looking at the color palette. So that's just something I wanted to tell you about the color palette. So let's keep hitting this here. Okay, so we got a little bit of that there. Let's we'll paint that on that side like that too. That's kind of the front. Let's clean up the rest of this stuff. Nope, that one there. Now another thing too that I do is sometimes if I'm using this particular block here, it's kind of weird. It doesn't really align with other nearby textures or anything like that. But there is one texture that has a line through the middle of it, kind of. This one, which can kind of fit in those spots and give you kind of an even looking line there. And when I usually do this kind of thing or any of these textures, I'll try to do that in symmetry or make sure it's the same on either side. But the rest of it kind of is in flux. Alright, so let's get back into here. One tone down from there and spray up in and around this feature. Okay, so now this thing on the top here, I'm going to figure out what color that should be. Now most of this, I'm trying to compare it with this build as well too. So this one was kind of my trial and error on working out like this texture scheme, sort of. And I'm just kind of looking at features on how I did it back over here. It looks like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's mostly trying to stay generally light. There's some dark in places. So I don't want to overdo the dark part of it, but I do think this ought to be dark. This one part here. So there's no texture that really works on these curvy things like that. So, and let's try to get a little something going on in here. A couple of those, maybe a couple of these, give it some kind of contrast. And back over here, let's just do something a little different. We'll put in one of those, slightly different tone. And on the front, I don't know yet. I'm trying to see if anything would kind of work. Kind of, sort of. Alright. Okay, so I set this up. I use this, there's a block here in, oh, let me get blocks. There's a block here out over here. It's this one. There's two of these, but one kind of has a slope in and it leaves a bit of the other block exposed, which actually ends up making a great opportunity for texture lights. You can see that block there is just half block, but it leaves part of this other block visible. So that is, again, a great place to add a texture light, which I'm going to do here. So let's go with just high intensity texture light back there. So now you got the glowy blue thing. I just want to see if I got the... I use that a lot on here. I just want to make sure I'm using the right tone. And I'm not. It's actually using that color there. Okay. Alright. So hold on. We're going to... let me steal this again so I get my original color back. I changed it. Just trying to show you what I was doing there. Okay, so now we're back to default, and the texture light here should be that color. Okay, so now that lines up. Alright, so this lower section down here, I kind of want this to be dark as well. For now, I'm just going to kind of go with a... Am I doing that right? Hold on, I think I've been reversing this the whole time here. Let me spray up this. I'll have to do the other side here in a sec. As I have symmetry off again. I get into a lot of symmetry problems when doing these kind of paint jobs. Sometimes I'll like forget to turn it back on or off and screw things up. So I'm trying to watch it a little bit, but okay. So then we're gonna blot out stuff, and I think it's one tone down from there. Damn it! Nope. Got it backwards again. Gosh darn it! All right, just here. Symmetry on. Once I get in the flow of it, it speeds up. But right now, I'm since I haven't done this paint job in a little bit again, I'm a little rusty on it. I know how it's done. It's just the exact colors for everything are a little confusing at this moment in time. Okay, so now we're going to go a tone up for the smooth parts. Let's get rid of that. Probably left that one, but okay, on this other side, we kind of got to do the same thing on. It gets a little, there's not too much fluctuation in there. Okay, let's add an accent or something here. That fits pretty good there. Okay, oh, symmetry is back on. All right. Let's go back over to this. Just trying to blend that in. Basically what it looks like to the eye more than anything else. Not like a necessary well, it's kind of a procedure to it, but at the same time it's like whatever looks good. Paint up that part. And this part here I don't really want blacked out, so we'll keep it kind of in the same color range here. Except for the inside. And this, and what I'm doing right now too, I would call this like the first coat, I guess you could say, because I'll probably get tweaked more beyond that yet. All right, so let's do something at the front. Yeah, I don't think I'll. Well, let's try this. Nah, I don't like chopping these vents up like that, or kind of like, you know. I don't know. Not much that works there. Okay, so we got a little bit. Let's keep on working up across the front here and get some other things going on. So over here, another block that I use for texture lights, because I like the texture lights can look really good, but I don't like to overdo them unless it's a specific thing that's supposed to be doing that. But so I usually try to keep them as small as possible. With the block, so usually a front block, and then you're actually painting texture light on a block behind that, only because you only see a small part of it, which is pretty typical on the way I do it, at least. Okay, so let's get more of that in and around the area here, and probably up here too. Let's just hit this side up here a minute. And then we're going to go darker here. Trying to match this line that's coming across. Okay, so over here, I'm going to get rid of these front turrets anyway. I'm probably not going to have those on there because they're right at the front of the ship. They would get blown up like right away in a battle. So probably not a good spot for them, but you can put them there at least. Blank up. Oh, you see I got symmetry on, so it's going to be screw up the other side if I try to fill in all my things at the moment. Alright, so over here, let's do this in dark. Maybe a couple textures like that, and extra dark on the inside. Here, I'm not sure. Probably never see it anyway, but let's put something in the middle here, some kind of feature texture or something like that, something to add a little contrast to it. And then on the bottom here, this should also probably be dark, but I think I'm going to just try that. that. Nah. A lot of the time too with texturing too is trying to figure out what texture might fit in a certain area and try a few and look at them, and if I don't like it after a little bit, I might change it later. Let's go back over to that one and paint that row for now and that row. But overall, it's just trying to make it look a little bit gritty with its texturing. So it's not like super smooth and fancy, but it's also not like a rusty mess either. It's just worn look. Okay, so here, darker. Well, I'm going to continue this kind of copper gold color up until at least that point there, and we'll probably ought to paint the top sides of these to match that too. And then we'll darken out the inside. Find something that fits there. All right. Now these thrusters might get moved down another block row too. It'll be easy change later though, as they're kind of serving as decoys more than anything else. Okay, so we got that. All right, so now our main row, which is actually done in the darker tone here. I'm gonna try to just run this with smooth metal. Let's ring it off right there, and then drop it down a couple notches for the insides. And we're gonna have to clean up all the jiggies yet. But, yeah. Okay, so here, mind having, I don't know, a feature texture here too or something. Maybe like a kind of vent there, and maybe even here. I forgot to paint that. And these I just realized I did that in a darker tone, so let me change that tint a little bit. And in my opinion, too, I mean, yeah, building, I mean, of course, you can do a lot with the block work and angles and, you know, whatever you're building can look really cool. But another really, in my book, important thing is texturing. Texturing can be time consuming and take a lot of trial and error, but it can really make or break a build, too. So I do like to put a lot of focus in on texturing things. Alright. Oh, I just did that on the other block. I'm trying to get in a little bit of this as well, just to break things up a little, even more in here. I'm actually thinking about for these two kind of featured pieces here, I'm kind of wondering if I should try a different texture on the sides and then something different in the middle. Oops. Like that there and that there. And maybe one of those in those spots. And then, I don't know. Try that. Oh, I didn't get that quite right. Oh, that should be here, and that should be smooth. Okay, let's get that painted. Got a little bit of a, yeah, kind of like a little bit of all the different main color ranges. You got a little bit of this right now, a little bit of the medium gray, the light gray, a little bit of that, a little bit of the dark. So quite a few going on. All right, so on the next part here, let's try to paint this chunk here and then the lines going back to there. Oh wait, and also try to be fairly accurate with not missing textures, but I'm gonna miss some anyway, so I'll find them later, hopefully. Don't always find them all though. All right. Okay. So on the top part here, we're kind of doing the lighter tone on this part of the angled surface. So let's try to mimic that over here. And I'm going to go over to more of this temporarily right there. We'll just end that right there too. So it's got like one row of that. Then let's go down to a different tone here. And yeah, let's just spray the rest of that there with that for now. And I'm trying to mimic the sides. Except for that. That's going to be different. Okay, and this should be the lighter tone here as well. Alright, so back over here, let's kind of gonna go off into a different darker color here. Let's try to get in a couple like old school vents. Old school, you know. Original textures, but then again we never really got, besides the cargo extension textures, never really got any new textures ever. Okay, so that's kind of blacked out there. Let's do the other side like that as well. And then in the center, let's go with a medium, a little bit brighter. Maybe I'll go back to some of this here. Do a strip of that going up to that point. And with this, I figure how I should do this. Should that be gold? And then that tone. And then something darker. Okay, that's kind of a start. Now let's do some cleaning on what's here. So, just want to get rid of the jiggies. Actually, you know, I think that would look better if that was that way. Yeah, I like that better. In fact, now I'm thinking that I should probably actually... Here, let's turn on symmetry if I'm going to do that again. Change it basically to here. Let's undo that. And we will not replace the texture. Just want to see what this looks like if this was all dark going across the sides here. Maybe with a couple other little thingies in there. One of those. Might as well do something similar over here too. That. Now let's go there and there with it, I guess. Okay. Back to clean up. I hate it when it looks like this. I really do. It's it just looks all janky. I don't like the lines. I have OCD problems with those lines going nowhere, basically. Or too many of them. Sometimes even if I got like two next to each other like that, I'll pick one and get rid of it. Like this line kind of goes to nothing, so let's get rid of that one. I'll maybe keep that one for now. Usually I'll end up getting rid of some more later on too. It happens when I'm like trying to tweak things a little bit later in the build. Just trying to find that balance between too many lines and not enough lines. Now another thing that I'll do sometimes is I like the textures to, when you do have lines, I like them to be generally oriented the same direction. So in this case, I'll mop out the color and I'll change that line so it's facing up this way rather than going that way. Okay, so now getting into this area, let's blot out a lot of this stuff. And of course, you got to do this to both sides of the build too. So it just that is where you really add in some more build time, and this is not matching good at all. So here, symmetry back on again, and I think I mispainted these the wrong color. So not matching properly. That's better. Oh, and actually that. Oh yeah, that should be like that. All the little things. That's why it takes so long for me to texture things. You know, it's you know, when I build something like this, like let's say it took maybe, I don't know how exact time I've got into building this hull. I did it in like smaller increments, I guess, maybe an hour, hour and a half at a time, probably for about 4 or 5 times, and then revisions. So probably about 12 hours into the hull. But yeah, I can spend several hours just texturing a build this size. Even it's not that big of a build, but it still can take a good amount of time to do if you're being all picky. I do not like how that's colored, that color up there either. I don't think that's right. Yeah, it's kind of darken that out a little bit more. Alright, symmetry off. Let's fix lines. I think I already screwed up some things. I'll have to fix the other side a little bit more. So, no color change. Just block out jiggies. Quite a lot of jiggies on this row. Nothing's really lining up. There's still a couple. Just enough to be convincing. Oops. Thing is, I gotta up the color. Oh, not that. Okay. All the range there. Oops. Yeah. Right over here, I'm still not liking. Don't like that transition very much. Yeah, let's do like that. Let me make sure I get the other side. Oh, the other side I actually have darked out there. Oh, that's probably what I should do here. Oops. Huh. Just put in a random thing there. Kind of looking at where this line stops at right there. I was trying to keep like this 3-color thing going, but I don't know if I like that or not at the moment. But generally speaking, compared to some fuel on this one too, and compared to how this was done, pretty similar. This one had more tweaking done to it because you know, once I got this baseline paint job in, then I started like fine-tuning it a little bit more, and this one has not had that yet. But yeah, generally it's following the scheme pretty good right now. So let's push on a little bit more, try to get it up to at least this section over here. And some of these are going to be pretty starked out here, and I don't have symmetry on it. Well, another thing too, I don't like to have symmetry on when I'm working right at the center of the build. I just find it more annoying than it's worth at that point. But if you're on one of the ends or whatever, it's fine. Now let's mix this up a little bit. We'll do 2 of those. Oops, and then something different in the middle. just to break it up a bit. And maybe something else down here. And then we got the edges of this block. How about a couple of those? There it is. And then let's paint the pipe. I'm going to try a oddball texture on this to see how it comes out. And yeah, this one's really moody. Nah, I'll scrap that. Let's try this instead. Make it look like something's roundy in there. Okay, and this is also a dark area here. How about some other kind of texture in there? Maybe a little one of them. So on the back here, let's put in a couple vents. Maybe at that row there. Oh, I already had vents back over here. There's too many vents. Yeah, I don't like to have too many of the same texture near each other either. That's another weird thing. Oh, this should be darker. Lighter there. Let's go back to. Oh, those are the sentry guns. Let's do this down the edge. And let's see. Let's go a little lighter tone here for the heck of it. Again, another part of the texturing thing is just. You know, even though I got kind of a process for doing this paint job, I'll put it in flux. I'll like over here, I just randomly decided that I want to paint this in a brighter color than the other stuff around it with a different texture. Stuff like that, I think helps too overall. When you look at it, when it's all said and done, it just kind of adds more, I don't know, something to it. A little more contrasty, a little more things to look at kind of thing. Alright, so one last area here. Let's do this this in-between section over here. Let's turn on symmetry. I want to do basically the 3 plates and the other stuff up to about this point here. Just so we got a good chunk of the top front end area painted. So I'm going to do a little bit more of that in here for now. And get that kind of filled in. Okay, so we got like another whole plate piece here. I'm wondering if it should have a bit of customization here. Okay, so we've got medium gray running on that plate. So let's do medium gray here. And we'll run that, but here we're going to turn it right down the side, that direction. And then we're going to, for the heck of it, I'm going to see how this is going to work out. I don't know if it's going to or not, but I'll try to do the gold, following that same thing. And then the white, or the lighter, over here. And then the, back down to the grays here. I want to see if I like that or not. Kind of, yeah, again, I'm trying to have fluctuation. I want a little bit of this gold on the build in various places, but I don't want it to be like straight lines going through the ship either. So I'm trying to mess with it, basically. Alright, so let's get the center actually painted. This is one of the darker stuff. Get a couple of those. Okay, inside of here. Let's one thing I like to do when I've used this formation a lot over time. This that block, and you kind of get these little kind of vent outlets or something out of it. The fun thing about it, though, if you can get some color contrast in that mix, it does help. And what I mean by that is like this all kind of darked out on the inside. Get the back wall here too. Different texture, but the top area textures, unfortunately, I would want them lighter, but this is all dark in this section here so far. Well, let's just see how this contrasts with it. Yeah, I think it's bright enough to see the difference. So it kind of looks, like it's recessed in a little bit more because all the blocks around it are a little bit lighter, and then it gets darker on the inside. However, that's not really jiving with what I got over here very well, but we'll change that. So now it will. So yeah, done. All right. So I missed that one. Okay, let's tone that down. Put in some smooth on the insides here. Alright, so, alright, cleanup job, or cleanup time. Symmetry off again, try to figure out what colors I'm supposed to do this with. That. And I don't like that either. Get rid of that one there. Something's wrong again. I think I, again, screwed up the base color. But we'll fix this anyway. And then try to update the colors. Oh, wait. Oh. That's supposed to be this. Yeah, that's why it looks so stupid now. Okay. Here, we'll go to that one too. Let's paint those darker. Now, versus painting human, this is a lot more tricky. Just a lot more tricky of a paint job, basically. So, yeah, the humans don't have. They have some color offsets, but not to this degree. I speak of them as like some living entity out there. Okay, so the other texture scheme. Yeah, alright, so that's kind of a start. Now, another thing that this particular texture scheme was doing is the thruster colors were painted differently as well. But I don't think it was that. You know, let me compare. What color did I paint these thrusters? That tone. No. Okay, so the thrusters were painted in the other shade, like that. Just tone down a little bit. All right. Oh, you know, I got a bunch of missing stuff here too. I think I have some other flaws in there I'm going to have to try to fix up too. I'm just trying to figure out if I like the color patterns right now. I'm a little on the fence with that. Usually am on the fence with that for a while. This one too, when I was painting it, I started with something and then I changed it, then I changed it again, then I changed it again, and I finally kind of got in the swing of things with the rest of the build. So yeah, similar. Now, other layers of detail too, and let's do like something else here. One thing I like to do, and it has a lot to do with lack of options. I don't particularly like using decals all the time, but just little things like, you know, I wish there was a whole lot more things. I like that there's letters in some of the symbols. I just wish there was more things like I almost like none of these over here. I mean, this one's alright. That's probably my favorite of the bunch. This one's useful for some things. That's useful for some things. This is useful once you get rid of that X. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just like kind of want more normal looking stuff. I would love to have some angled lines that line up to, like, other, like, lines. So you can make, like, angled line art and stuff like that. But you don't really have that. You can just do squares. But in this case, basically, I'm just going to add in some colons, basically, to the ship, just to give it a little detail in places. Something like, oops. So if I screwed up my color on that one here, let's turn the color part off. Oops, I hit the right buttons. And let's see, I think I did some of that on here too. Like, yeah, let's get the equals on. Got to have the equals too. You know, every build needs an equal sign. So, yeah, let's put that there, I guess. Okay, and a couple more fixing things up. I'll block that one out. And the jiggy. That too, then. A little stuff like that. Another thing that you can definitely add on to is this all your deco things, like this stuff in here. I haven't done much of that on this build yet, but sometimes, yeah, there's a couple of these that I like. Metal cap. This is a half block row, so I can't really add anything in that section. And then if I put them up here, it's going to probably disrupt turrets and stuff. But yeah, I always kind of look around for places to put things like this. Like, you know, this is actually, I'll draw this out as a turret mount here. Let's finish this up with that a minute. Let me turn on symmetry again. Do kind of a thing. I'm debating whether or not I should alter the blocks here though a little bit. Kind of looking at, let's say our turret is here. Let's go dark there. And yeah, let's do something like that. Alright, so I'll do a little bit of block stuff here. I kind of wanted to make that look better. So let's try some things. Start with the center block here, and I'm going to replace that with a roundy thing on the one end, and then on the sides of that, yeah, let's do a full thing of going around it here a minute. Yeah, it's gonna matter which way I have this rotated. That's why I wanted to get it like that. So this side texture on this surface is different than the one there. I think that is at this time. And then the corners, I guess the obvious choice would be this one. A little boring. Oh, but I can't do it in that corner because of the angled block. Alright. Well, let's just do this formation on one side then. We'll be a little different. So we'll have it like that. Take this one, slam that up there, and now it's just kind of got the thing going, and the front side is solid. Okay. And put in some support textures around there. And yeah, I definitely got to get rid of that You know, I think maybe I'll darken out that whole shape there. Something like that. That's all mess on the bottom there yet, but okay, so on the inside here, let's do something that has a kind of line pattern to it, I guess. I'll swap the texture there a second. Alright, clean up a little jiggies in here, I think. Oh. Alright, so let's add some decals. Standards for this, and I'm going to do a little interior line because I can. Basically, I know these blocks will allow that to work there. Okay, so we got a little turret mount there in this thing. Let's reverse that and that. Do have problems in here, and let's pick a different texture for that. That'll get rid of the jiggy, plus add in a little something. Every time I turn around, there's like more issues. I eventually get them all worked out. Okay, so I'm not sure I like my pattern of the differences in colors yet, so that could get altered. Might probably get altered. So, hold on, let me for reference. Okay, so over here I did similar things. Like here we got gold, we got dark, but the dark's on the outside. Then it goes to gold, then it goes to the lighter gray on this scheme, and I think it follows that. Yeah, lighter gray, gold, dark. This ship is not quite doing that, and I think the issue is it needs to be. So we got gold, lighter gray, then it's going to regular gray, and there's no dark. So make a change to that going across, say here. And then I'm going to expand out the light. One more road here. And that doesn't really make for a good corner anymore. That's too light too. Those textures. Yeah, this is going to be gray. And this one I want to get something in. You see how like I blotted out all the textures in here and now it's like completely smooth? Don't like that either. So I'm going to try to see if there's some area that can look alright. Like, yeah, let's try to leave those two. And I'm going to slightly miscolor part of that. Or maybe both of those. How about all three of them? Like that. Of course, the other side you have to manually do individually because of the doesn't mimic that in symmetry. And this is messed up here too. So light, goes to dark. Maybe it's the, wait a minute, something else is wrong. Dark, light, gold, dark. Yeah, I got the gold on the inside here, and it should probably be out on the outer row. But anyway, yeah, I think you get the idea. This kind of paint job takes a long time. I mean, for the size of the build it is. Luckily, it is way, way smaller than what that ship is, which took a long time to texture. But it started. This area that is here is going to probably get some more tweaks. And I'll probably be doing, basically from here on, maybe add in a couple more other textures and probably mess with my color lines in places. And then have to kind of repeat that process through the rest of the build. And whatever looks good, basically, to sight. So anyway, just kind of wanted to show you how, like, I would say the harder texture schemes are actually kind of work on these. Again, other texture schemes. The MCRN would have been way easier. The humans are way easier. Creel has a little bit of a color gradient, but it's generally it's easier too. The hardest ones I've got of the ones that I did is the Scar 2.0, not the 1.0. 1.0 was the original Scars, where I just used the rusty metal as a base material, and then the second, I guess, generation of Scar texturing was done with multi texture overall surface, or multiple hull material textures, I guess you could say. Like on this one, I'm using smooth metal, plus I'm using this other one over here. Scar does that, but also uses a little rusty metal on top of it, plus the other ones. And yeah, that's kind of how it comes out. But yeah, at the end of the day, hopefully it'll look nice. But again, it's going to need a lot more tweaking before it's all good. But anyway, yeah, if you wanted to know how these were painted, that's kind of how. It's when I'm first doing it like that, this is kind of a one of a kind of this color pattern. Well, so far, except for the second one here. It's a lot of frogging around, a lot of messing with this and that, and looking at it some more and changing a couple things, looking at it some more until you're like, oh yeah, I kind of like that. You know, I wish I could just hit it the first try and everything would be perfect, but it almost never works that way. So anyway, y'all have yourself a wonderful day. Please let me know what you think about the modifications down over here. And obviously you can see all the landing gear down, so you got a nice flat landing area. I think because this is the bulky part of the ship here, it looks like the landing gear would work out, even though there's a lot of overhang on the front. But there's a lot more weight back here, plus it does go past the outer edge of that as well. And another step I do have to do to this ship as well is I got to get out the old multi-tool and start upgrading a lot of the blocks to combat steel and start getting the armor layers in there and things like that. I also did want to add some more turret positions yet, especially on the underside. And probably some more sentry gun positions yet as well. But for the most part, I'm pretty all right with the overall shape and everything at this point with the build. When I do release it too, I'm going to take Artemis's advice. I'll probably cut one of these like strafing thrusters out of here. I'll leave it so you can put it back in, but then upgrade a lot of the thrusters, at least to the mid-level variant, the plasma ones, which will save on CPU. Now, even right now, with the parts in the build here, I've got 2 advanced generators. I do have a warp drive, and then I've got all 8 of these heavy weapons installed at the moment. But I don't have a shield or shield parts or all other things. But right now I'm chilling in at 700 and about 720,000 CPU. So it goes to 900,000 at core 9. So that's kind of cool. It's like basically like, yes, I could put this out and have like all these heavy weapons installed. I probably won't, because even me playing in the game, I might go with the multiples of the lower tier, like plasma guns or something else, but it'll be able to accommodate all those. And that's with all the well, relatively cheap turrets installed too. So, like with CVs, I don't mind the CPU on them in Reforged Eden 2. I really don't mind it. It works out good. I'm able to do what I'd like to do at going up to like a Core 9. And it's not that unreasonably bad to get to a Core 9 in game. But what I don't like, though, and I'll state this again, I do not like the CPU on HVs and SVs. It's nothing like the CVs. It's like I don't know. They just doesn't feel right. It seems like you just can't do much with them unless you go way into the quantum auxiliary core range, which is a lot of in-game effort to acquire those, which I don't really find worthwhile for those kinds of builds. So yeah, I still I don't like the HVs and I don't like the SV CPU, but I'm totally cool with the CV CPU. I think it feels good. It feels about right. Bases, I didn't really have any problems with either. It's just HVs and SVs. Everything just seems to cost too much CPU, and you end up with not a shell of what you would like to build at like a core 9 area. And if you want to build what you would actually like to build, feeling like it should be a Core 9, will probably end up being a Core like 17, which, if you notice, I haven't built any Core 17 anythings with any of that stuff, because I'll never want to acquire it in game, ever. So why build it in the first place? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I wish that was different, but yeah, that's how it is with me. Anyway, y'all have yourself a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later.